The events begin on October 30th, 1969. Two boys riding their bicycles near the marshes discovered a body. Police officers examined the scene. The body belongs to Chase Andrews. The medical examiner said that Chase had hit his head before falling from a height. No fingerprints were found on the railing, but red wool fibers were found. In the evening at the bar, people discuss what has happened. One woman says that a crazy girl who lives on the marshes may be involved in the crime. The police went back into the woods and stumbled upon the dwelling, where they hoped to talk to Miss Clark. There were many strange things in the dwelling, but the mistress herself was nowhere to be found. The police also found a red wool hat. Meanwhile, Kaya was hiding in the woods. Soon the sheriffs chased her by boat down the river. Once ashore, Kaya ran and then dove into the swamp. However, she was not able to get far. The police captured her. Kaya was arrested and put in a prison cell. Soon the girl was visited by a lawyer, Tom Milton. He tried to explain to her what kind of situation she was in. Tom cannot help the defendant if he does not get to know her better, because the locals call Kaya the Swamp Girl and consider her crazy. After leaving the defendant a book, Tom said he would come back later. But suddenly Kaya said she used to have a family. In the distant past, she lived together with her siblings. Her mother seemed very loving, but the father was very cruel. When he saw his daughter in a boat, he punched her in the face, about to drag her into the house. A neighbor boy, Tate, stood up for the girl. Apart from his daughter, the man raised his hand against his wife. At night, Kaya could not sleep because of her parents' scolding. One day while her husband was asleep, the mother left the house with her suitcases. She never returned. And soon all of Kaya's brothers and sisters left. Jody was the last to leave. He told his sister he could no longer live here. He also advised her, if it was scary, to hide in the swamps where the crayfish sing. Kaya was left to live alone with her tyrant father. From an early age the girl mastered the marshes by boating. But one day she got lost and met Tate. He helped her find her way back. For the first time Kaya felt brave and confident. When she returned home, she asked her father for food, and he did go to the store for corn grits and whiskey. When the father went away, the saleswoman was surprised that the girl did not go to school. Kaya thought about it and went to the city barefoot. She was very afraid of cars and people, but she came to the lesson. All the children in class laughed at her tattered clothes and illiteracy. Unable to stand it, Kaya ran away. She became more involved with her father, who took her fishing with him and told her not to trust anyone. For a while the father was kind to her. One day a letter came from the mother, but the father wouldn't let her read it and burned it. Weeping Kaya collected the ashes in a jar. That same evening the father burned all the things that reminded him of his ex-wife. One day her father just disappeared, and Kaya was left all alone. Now she had to somehow survive and get food. The girl gathered mussels and went to the local store to sell them and get some money. Kaya continued to toil, Mabel giving her shoes and some clothes. In the present tense, the first trial began. People from the courtroom shouted that she was guilty. Later, Tom Milton offered Catherine to make a deal with justice and confess to the crime, but the girl claimed that she was not guilty. However, the prosecutor was very aggressive. Tom remained calm and offered counterarguments, while Kaya recalled how in 1962 she saw a stranger in the woods and hid. The next day she found a box of seeds and a letter, and then she met the guy. It turned out to be Tate. Kaya admitted that she couldn't read, so Tate offered to teach her to both read and write. From that day on, their outdoor literacy lessons began. Soon Kaya began to make progress. Tate was proud of his student and one day came to visit her with books. Since then they saw each other 3 times a week and read together. Tate's father told his son that there were rumors in the neighborhood that he was having an affair with Swamp Girl. In his opinion, all the son should be thinking about now was going to university. One day a custody officer paid Mr. and Mrs. Jumpin a visit, questioning them because Kaya is underage. The couple lied that girl lived with her father. Upon learning of this, Kaya is frightened. Tate thinks that boarding school is a good option, since she will be taken care of there, but Kaya does not want to live among strangers. The wind picked up the leaves, creating a romantic atmosphere. Kaya and Tate kissed. Now they were together all day long. Kaya was very surprised when Tate surprised her with a birthday cake. Even she had forgotten about her birthday. A flock of white swans soared into the sky. Under the influence of a romantic mood, the young people were about to make love. However, at the most responsible moment, Tate changed his mind, fearing that there would be consequences. Autumn was approaching. Tate told his father the good news. He entered the university. He told the girl too. She didn't want to let him go, but the guy didn't wish to stay in these backwoods places, because there are no prospects here. In the morning they said goodbye. Tate gave Kay a list of publishers who might be interested in her drawings and nature notes. The guy left, and Kaya stayed here, continuing to study the marshes and paint. It was the 4th of July, the day Tate had promised to visit her. Kaya put on a pretty dress, put on lipstick, and went to wait for him on the beach, but he never showed up. At home, Kaya burned some of her drawings in anger. Unhappy love forced her to become even closer to nature. The trial went on. Tom Milton's words in defense of the defendant were very persuasive. Apparently, Chase had been killed in an accident. Kaya remembers 1968. One day she saw someone taking pictures of her house and ran to the jumping couple. They said that the developers want to drain the swamp and build a hotel. The developers are also willing to offer Kaya money for the site if she provides documentary evidence that the house belongs to her. On the street, she was approached by a guy who introduced himself as Chase Andrews. He suggested she go on a picnic on Sunday to get to know each other better. Kaya learned that she would be considered the owner of the property if she paid a tax of $800. According to the law, whoever covers this amount will be the owner of the property, even without a contract. Kaya doesn't have that kind of money, and she recalls the list of publishers Tate once gave her. On Sunday, she met up with Chase. The guy kissed her, but Kaya pushed him away. Chase asked for a chance to make amends and took her to a tower in the swamps. For the first time in her life, Kaya saw her possessions from above. Chase suddenly asked the girl to take him to her house. They began to spend a lot of time together. Kaya was glad because she no longer felt lonely. In the present, the court is trying to figure out how the fibers from the girl's hat got on Chase's jacket. The lawyer found an explanation, and Kaya recalls kissing Chase. She also heard back from a publisher who was ready to publish her manuscript. Chase also had something to brag about. He got a promotion at work. The couple decided to celebrate. Chase promised the girl that he would marry her. He needed to travel to another city for a few days, so he invited Kaya to join him. Despite her fear of people, she agreed. She felt uneasy in the car. The couple stopped for the night at a motel, where they indulged in passion. When it was over, Chase declared his love for the girl. Kaya gave him a special gift, a seashell necklace. The necklace was never found on the guy's body. Chase's mother believes that Kaya is to blame for her son's death. According to Mrs. Andrews, the son lied to her that he had stopped communicating with Swamp Girl. The lawyer reminded that the girl's house was thoroughly searched and the necklace was not found there. Kaya is plunged back into the past again. One day the couple are spotted by a returning Tate. Later, he overhears Chase bragging to a friend that he's having an affair with Swamp Girl. A conflict arose between the guys, which was stopped by Mr. Jumpin'. One night Tate paid Kaya a visit. The girl started throwing rocks at him, not wanting to hear anything. Tate confessed that he was afraid of getting bogged down in these places and missing out on all the opportunities in life if he stayed here. But the guy soon realized he had made a huge mistake. Now he was back for good and wanted to be with Kaya again. But the girl couldn't forgive him. In the present, the lawyer asks if anyone around her wished Chase harm. Kaya recalls approaching her boyfriend in town. That's how she found out that he was actually engaged. The girl returned home in tears. When Chase came, she hid. The guy wanted to talk, but not finding Kaya, he left. The girl ran out onto the empty beach and screamed with powerless anger. Soon her book was printed. She was paid in advance and invited to a conference. She spent the proceeds on home improvements. One day her grown-up brother Jody, who has served in the army, shows up on her doorstep. He knows nothing of the fate of the other sisters, but he knows that their mother died of leukemia. All these years the children lived without family. Jody asked the sisters permission to visit her. Of course she didn't mind. Kaya gave a copy of her book to the Jam Pines, who always helped her. When Chase entered, the girl hid, but he noticed her. Kaya made it clear that she did not want to talk to him. The friends began to laugh at Chase. He soon found her in the woods and claimed he had to marry Pearl, but he loved only her, Kaya. Upon hearing the refusal, the guy hit the girl and tried to force intimacy on her, but was rebuffed. Kaya managed to escape by shouting threats at Chase. A local fisherman saw this. Now Kaya lives in fear. One day she saw Chase in the swamp, and when she returned home, everything inside was trashed. At night Kaya lurked in the bushes near the house, but instead of Chase, Tate showed up. He noticed the bruise on her face and realized that Chase had done it. Kaya said she was going to Greenfield soon to meet her publisher. Realizing the girl was cold, Tate gave her his red hat. Today the guy is testifying in the courtroom. In the past, Mr. Jumpin had demanded that Kaya tell him where the bruises had come from. The girl didn't want to discuss it, for she didn't think the police would help her anyway, but would accuse her of provoking Chase herself. In the present, a witness tells the court that on the morning of October 29th, Kaya boarded a bus to Greenfeld. Later testified the publisher, who recalled having dinner with Kaya and several other people at the restaurant. The girl acted rather shyly. In the cell, the lawyer asks Kaya to speak in front of the jury, but the girl doesn't want to, because all these people have been bullying her all her life. It was time for the verdict to be handed down. Since no physical evidence was found against Kaya, she was acquitted. Kaya is now free. She thanks Tom, as well as Jampen and the publisher, who supported her all this time. Her brother took her home. After months in isolation, she finally returned to her native swamps. Now she and Tate are back together. The young people were married. Kaya published new books. Her life got better. One day Mr. Jumpin, whom she loved so much, died. Kaya and Tate had spent their entire lives on the swamp and had grown old together. One day the husband found his wife dead in a boat, and shortly after her death, while he was sorting through her things, he saw the very same missing necklace of Chase. It was with horror that Tate realized that in fact Kaya was guilty. Her secret had been swallowed up forever by the swamp.